done 2 episodes so far, and now today it is episode number 3. And again, as I did last 2 weeks, I would like to tell another story, which is actually a continuation of the story I really told about Gokarna and Atmadeva. So then after the story, we'll pick up a sloka and then we expand on it. So this Atmadeva, who was actually a Brahmin, who was really living in the bank of Tungabhadra, he had a wife named Dunduli. They had no children, so he was worrying so much. And then they really, he really saw a sannyasi who gave a fruit. But then that fruit he really gave it to his wife, but his wife did not really take it. He gave it to the cow. And so now, so they played a trick. She actually played a trick with her sister, and eventually a child from her sister was actually given to Atmadeva without because he thought that was his own real child. But anyway, at the same time, there was also a child born to the cow which ate the fruit given by the sannyasi. So then Atmadeva read Srimad Bhagavatam's 10th chapter in depth and got liberation. So now we are going to go further on what happened to Dunduli and Gokarna. Dunduli was leading a sinful life. He had 5 bad women as wives. He was deep in the sense enjoyments. So he was an asura. The word asura, we think that they are actually born like a different species or something. But actually asura came from the word asu. So asu means senses. Asura means the ones who really enjoys in sense gratification. So he is an asura. So now Dunduli was actually a asura because he was so attached to the sense enjoyment to the maximum extent he wanted to enjoy with 5 women as his wives. And after Atmadeva went to the forest, Dundagari actually did so many problems to his own mother called Dunduli. So he really beat her mother, his mother very severely, and he demanded her wealth and threatened to burn her. Being overly troubled and afraid of her son, Dunduli one night ran out of the house, jumped into a well, and drowned there and dead. So this is, look at here, it's all happened just because Atmadev did not really, feel that, okay, there is no son, so he's fine. Whatever God has given to me, I will be satisfied. No, he was not satisfied, and look at all the problems started. Because if it is not in your fate to really have a child, or to really have whatever wealth, health, whatever it is, it has to be there already allocated by the Lord. Otherwise, you won't get it. Look at now the whole family is suffering unnecessarily because of that one desire to really get a son. So the saintly Gokarna, who was really born to the cow, came to know the incident that Dunduli actually had a horrible death. But he was not at all troubled, because he was situated above happiness and distress. Gokarna is very different. And he was detached from his friends and enemies. He really doesn't care who is his enemy, who is your friends. He doesn't care at all. He simply then went on a pilgrimage. Meanwhile, something was really badly happening to Dundukari. Who is Dundukari? Dundukari was the son adopted by actually his Dunduli's sister's son. He was the one who was he maintaining five women, and he was the asura. So now Dhundhukari lived with 5 bad women and constantly worried how to accumulate wealth for sense gratification. Now owing to this, he lost all his intelligence and he engaged in cruel and heinous activities. One day the bad woman requested that him to really give them various ornaments. They demanded. Dhundhukari, completely blinded by lust and forgetful of his death, he left to fulfill his desire by hook or nook. In his attempt to please those 5 bad women, he stole some wealth and used it to buy beautiful clothes and ornaments for the woman. After receiving the stolen goods, one night, the bad woman began to consider, hey, Dhundhukari is always plundering others, and in time he will surely get caught by the king and he will be punished. Then, if he is punished, then we will be confiscated. And whatever the wealth and all the ornaments that he has been giving to us, and the king is going to really find out, and then everything will be taken out. So what we can do is, we can as well kill him ourselves and take his wealth and move to a distant place. Thinking in this way, one night, while Dhundhukari was sleeping, they tied him with ropes, put a noose around the neck, and tried to strangle him. But he would not die easily, and this worried the bad woman. They then brought burning wood and shoved it into his mouth. The wood burned him to death, and they buried his dead body without anyone knowing. No one could understand what happened to Dhundhukari. When people were asking what happened, where is he? The bad woman said that he had gone far away to collect some more wealth and would return after a year. The bad woman, who had experienced many lovers, took at Dhundhukari's wealth and disappeared. They all ran away. Now, owing to his misdeeds, Dhundhukari attained a ghostly body. You see, a ghost. And remaining within a whirlwind, wandered here and there, suffering from hunger and thirst, and lamenting his misfortune. He could find no shelter anywhere. After some time, the news of Dhundhukari's death reached Gokarna, because he was always in pilgrimage and here and there. So he went to Gaya to perform Shraddha for his brother. Later, while traveling to the holy places, Gokarna reached his own hometown, and then, hiding from everyone, he went to his farmer house to pass the night. Dhundhukari's ghost appeared there, with very fierce forms before him. Sometimes he showed the form of a dreadful sheep, sometimes as an elephant, and sometimes as a buffalo, or like Indra, or sometimes like fire. Finally, he appeared as a human being. Seeing this, Gokarna, with courage and patience, he spoke to the ghost. Who are you? Why are you exhibiting all these fearsome forms? How did you fall into this condition? Tell me clearly, are you a ghost, goblin, or a demon? When Gokarna questioned him, the ghost started crying loudly. He did not have the power to speak, so he gestured with his hands. Gokarna took some holy water from what he had and sprinkled some water through on the ghost. This relieved him of enough sinful reactions that the ghost was able to speak. I am your brother Dhundhukari, the ghost said. Because of my misdeeds, I have fallen from my respectable birth as a Brahmana. Owing to complete ignorance, I killed so many people. It is not possible to count my sins. I was addicted to 5 bad women and who finally killed me. And as a result, I am suffering the reactions for my ill activities and have thus gotten this ghostly body. Somehow by the will of God, I am now surviving only on air. My dear brother, you are an ocean of mercy. Please somehow deliver me from this ghostly form. Gokarna replied, Dear brother, I am very surprised. I duly performed oblations for you in Gaya. And it is a wonder that you still have not been relieved from this ghostly form. Because when the people do Shraddha, this ghostly form of the dead will get a spiritual form. If you cannot be delivered by performing sacrifice in Gaya, then I do not know what to do. Tell me, what is the solution? The ghost said, I cannot be relieved of this condition even by the performance of hundreds of Shraddhas at Gaya. You must think of some more powerful practice. Gokarna astonished to hear this. And he said, if you cannot be delivered by hundreds of Shraddhas in Gaya, then your liberation is practically impossible. Anyway, do not fear. Stay here and I will think of some procedure to deliver you. So Gokarna wanted to help to his brother's ghostly body to really get relieved. The ghost left Gokarna, and Gokarna passed the night in deep thought but did not discover a solution. The next morning, many people, including scholars, knowers of the Vedas, and yogis came to see him, and he explained the incident which had occurred the previous night about this ghost. They all consulted the scriptures but could not suggest a suitable means to deliver Dhundhukari. They finally decided to follow whatever Surya Narayana, the sun god, would order. By the power of his accumulated penance, Gokarna checked the movements of the sun god and prayed to him. O Lord, you are the witness of the whole universe. I offer my obeisances unto you. Please be merciful and tell me the process to deliver Dhundhukari, my brother. The sun god replied, only one thing can be done to deliver him. Recite Srimad Bhagavatam for a week. Now Gokarna got really happy. So the assembly, everybody heard the verdict from the sun god, and they agreed that this simple process should be executed. The news spread that Gokarna would perform the Saptaha Yajna, that means reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam. From the nearby villages, many people came who were even lame, blind, aged, and less intelligent. All had the desire to become free from their sins. Such a crowd assembled that even the demigods were surprised. Gokarna took his seat on the Vyasasana and began reciting the pastimes of Lord Krishna as described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. At that time, the ghost, that is his brother, also came and searched for a place to sit. Because he had an airy or gaseous body, it's a ghost. He could not sit outside. So he entered into a bamboo tree. And inside, and that bamboo tree had 7 knots. He entered into that. And then he was hanging around because he's a ghostly form. And he started to hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. After Gokarna appointed one Vaishnava Brahmana as the chief of the assembly, and in a clear, sweet voice, he started reciting Srimad Bhagavatam from the first canto. That evening, during a pause in the katha, a wonderful incident happened. The people in the assembly noticed that one of the knots in the bamboo cracked and burst. It had seven knots. Remember in the bamboo tree that you really see on the right. So now one knot that got just burst, just like an explosion. Then the next day also the recitation went on and went on and went on. In this way, at the end of each day, a knot would burst. And on the 7th day, when the recitation was complete, all the knots were cracked. Dhundhukari was delivered from his ghostly form. He attained a divine body, which was blackish like rain clouds. He was clad in yellow garments, a tulasi garland around his neck, a crown adorning his head, and beautiful earrings dangling from his ears. He got a spiritual form. He immediately offered obeisances to Gokarna and said, "Oh, my dear brother, by your mercy I have been released from this ghostly body. This ceremony of Saptaha is so glorious that it can destroy ghostly forms and elevate one to the abode of Lord Krishna. When a person starts hearing the Saptaha, since tremble in fear, anticipating that the Bhagavatam Katha will burn them to ashes. In the same way that fire burns a twig or tree, so the Saptaha burns all big or small sins performed with the body, mind and speech. When Dundukari was speaking in this way, the sky became effulgent and Vaikunta airplane appeared carrying associates of the Lord. In front of the whole assembly, Dundukari boarded the airplane. Gokarna posed a question to those Vishnu Dutas. Oh dear associates of the Lord, I am surprised. In this assembly, there are many pure heart people and all of them heard the Bhagavata Saptaha. But why is it that only this airplane has come exclusive only for Dundukari? Why are the others not getting the same result? The Vishnu Dutas, the servants of the Lord, spoke. Oh Gokarna, the difference lies in the quality of their hearing. Although it is true that everyone heard the Katha, everyone did not meditate on it equally. For this reason, the results of performing bhajana or devotional service are different. The ghost fasted for 7 days. The ghost did not eat anything and heard Bhagavatam with a completely fixed and attentive mind. In the same way, if one does not hear attentively, or if one harbors doubts or lets his mind wander here and there when hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, then he will not get the benefit of of this hearing. The same way for chanting mantra also. You may be chanting mantra, but if you are thinking about something else and if you are not attentive, there is no result. So that is why in the previous class, we really covered the sloka, Kritibhihi Sushrushubihi. With attention and with complete attention, you have to listen to the story of the Lord. Then it gives the maximum benefit. So if one hears the Bhagavatam attentively by certainly attain Vaikunta, O Gokarna, as far as you are concerned, the Lord himself will come to take you to Goloka. You are very special. Thereafter, the associates of the Lord performing the Hari Kirtana, they were actually all Hari Kirtana was going on when Dundukari was landing in the airplane, and then they all ascended to Vaikunta. Then later, in the month of Shravana, Gokarna again performed another Saptaha Yajna of Srimad Bhagavatam, and those people who really attended, they all came back again and attended this recitation again. The Lord now appeared in a plain filled with devotees. From all quarters could be heard, all glories, all glories, all glories. And people were paying obeisances. The Lord blew his conch shell, named Panchasanya, and embraced Gokarna. In a moment, he granted everyone who listened to the Srimad Bhagavatam a body just like his own. They all acquired a blackish body and wore yellow garments, helmets, and earrings. By the mercy of Gokarna, all the living entities in that village, including dogs and even the dog eaters, ascended in that airship. They were carried to the place where only devotees go, the abode of the Lord. In this way, Lord Krishna, being very pleased by his katha, took Gokarna with him to Golokadam, which is most dear to the cowherd people. In the past, Lord Ramachandra took all the residents of Ayodhya to his abode, Saket. In the same way, Lord Krishna took everyone to Golokadam, which is not attained even by great yogis, the sun god, moon god, or even perfected beings, but is attained only by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. What can we say about the wonderful result which one attains by hearing Bhagavata Saptaha? Even those who have heard a fraction of the history of Gokarna do not take birth again. That destination which cannot be attained by those who live on air, water or dry leaves. That means even yogis cannot go. Okay, because all the yogis executing extended penances or practicing yoga, they cannot go to Goloka. But reading Srimad Bhagavatam, it is possible, they are possible to go. And it is easily attained simply by hearing Bhagavata Saptaha. If it is recited during the Shraddha ceremony, the forefathers are also very pleased. And anyone who recites Srimad Bhagavatam daily, because there are, I know in our Sangha there are some devotees, because I told them, yes, recite Srimad Bhagavatam every day. And they are doing it. And Lord guarantees they will surely attain the Lord. So what is the summary from the story? Reading Bhagavatam removes all the sins. Does not matter what kind of sins. The Dundugari, there was no sin that he did not make. He killed so many people. And he was Asura. But reading Srimad Bhagavatam, in fact he was hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, removed all his sins. Even all the Shraddha ceremony in Gaya, here and there, nothing could really work. So that is the power of Srimad Bhagavatam. However, reading in attention is very important, or hearing in attention is very important. Then the even Lord himself comes down. So that is the power of Srimad Bhagavatam. That is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, if we have only Srimad Bhagavatam and we don't have anything else, we haven't lost anything at all. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Giri Baradari Jaya Giri Baradari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Giri Baradari Jaya Giri Baradari Yashodanandan Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo Ramo Hare Hare. So Srimad Bhagavatam is the best Bhakti Shastra. So today I would like to introduce one sloka, because we don't have much time. I think we can cover probably just one sloka. This is verse first canto, first chapter, third verse. So we have covered two slokas only so far. But actually from next week onwards, it is going to be faster, because I am going to be really reading together so many and then explaining together. So this is why I am going slower in these slokas is because these slokas are very, very important. These are jewels. So, Nigama kalpataror ganitam balam Sukhamukat amritatrava samyutam Pibata bhagavatam rasam alayam Muhuraho rasika bhuvi bhavuka Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam Sukhamukat amritatrava samyutam Pibata bhagavatam rasam alayam Muhuraho rasika bhuvi bhavuka. Oh, expert and thoughtful men relish Srimad Bhagavatam. Who? Expert and thoughtful men who really know the goal of the life relish Srimad Bhagavatam. What is the Srimad Bhagavatam? It is the mature fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sri Sukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful. Although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. Mature fruit of Vedic scriptures. Nigama kalpa taror galitam phalam. Nigama means the Vedic literatures. Kalpataro means the desire tree. Galitam means fully matured. Phalam means fruit. Okay. Now Nigama means the Vedic scriptures. Kalpataro is desire tree. And Galitam is fully matured. And Phalam means fruit. So fruit ripened. Okay, if you see that, what the meaning? The Srimad Bhagavatam is actually the mature fruit of Kalpa Vriksha, like Kalpa Vriksha, like Vedic scriptures. So the Vedic scriptures are like Kalpa Vriksha. So the Vriksha, a tree will give fruit. So it is all, any tree is really famous for giving a fruit, right? And that fruit is the ultimate thing. And these Vedic scriptures, if we consider that as a kalpataru, that means all our desires are really all satisfied. So that's what the Vedic scripture does, because all our jnana, vairagya, everything comes from there. Now these kalpavriksha, there is a fruit. That fruit is Srimad Bhagavatam. So of all the scriptures, Srimad Bhagavatam is the fruit. Fruit actually is also ripens in two ways. One is payita, other one is galita. What is payita? Payita means made to ripe after plucking it from the tree unmaturely. Remember, when we really have the all the fruit trees, you don't want to really make that to ripe all the way, because then the parrots will come, parrots and squirrels and everything will come and then take it out. So what we do, as soon as it becomes somewhat ripen, before ripen, we pluck it out. So that is called paita. It's not galita. So then it has to be kept somewhere, in some little warm place. Then it becomes galitam. So it becomes, become fruit, real fruit. So that is paita. Galita means ripened on the tree itself. Okay? Tree itself. Fully matured. Because there paita means you have to plug it. Isn't it? You have to plug it by force. It won't fall down just like that. You have to plug it. That's what if you see, for example, nowadays we are, getting lot of the peaches. And if you see the peaches, and it looks like fruit, but inside it's all, artificially plugged, when it was not even half ripe. And now it doesn't have a taste at all. Okay, so a Galitam Palam is the mature fruit which gives the complete sweetness. Okay, so not the Paita, only the Galitam Palam. So it's the Galitam Palam. So why is that? It is so sweet because it's naturally became from the tree. Now it is so sweet because touched by the beak of a parrot. In fact, because nowadays people really see all kinds of health concerns, these bacteria, that bacteria. But the thing is, in olden days, when we were growing up, here you are actually seeing a guava fruit, right? The guava fruit, when it is really, actually plucked by the parrot, the beak of the parrot, it is sweet. We eat. It is really so sweet. And that is also here, Sukhamukhat, it has two meanings in this word, in this sentence. Sukhamukha Amrita Trava Samyutam. Anyway, Sukhamukha, what is Sukhamukha? Because a fruit, when it's ripened, it's about to fall down. That time, when it is also, the peak of a sukha or the parrot, when they really taste it, then it gives more sweet. Same way, Sukhamukha Amrita, the Sukadeva Goswami, what is the kind of his mouth? His mouth is like a parrot. Why? Because he is none other than the parrot of Srimati Radharani. You know the story, long time back I really told about that. Lord Shiva was really narrating the Srimad Bhagavatam to really Parvati Devi, and Parvati Devi, just like that, he really went to sleep. But he was in the trance. Lord Shiva was really narrating all. But what happened? There was only a parrot was really giving the words. Oh yes, very good. Go ahead. But Lord Shiva thought that was coming from Parvati's mouth. But then anyway, so that's the same Sukadeva Goswami. So Srimad Bhagavatam emanated from the lips of Sukadeva Goswami, who had the mouth like a parrot. So it is having a double meaning. So it's okay? You understand? Now, Sukhamukha. So now, so when did it actually happen? He was actually narrating that to whom? To the Parikshit Maharaj. Okay? So of course here in the picture you are not seeing his parrot, the mouth. But because, whoever the one painted, they painted like that. But actually, Sukadeva Goswami had a mouth of parrot beak. Okay, so Bhagavatam emanated from the mouth of Srila Sukadeva Goswami, Sukhamukhat. Okay? Now, Sukhamukhat Amrita Travya Samyutam. Sukhamukhat Amrita Travya Samyutam. What is Amrita? Amrita means nectar. That fruit is nectarian fruit. There is nothing in the entire world which is more nectarian than this Srimad Bhagavatam. Amrita, nectar. And how is that only is actually Srimad Bhagavatam looks like? Is it really a fruit? Kind of a fruit, but it's a special fruit. This fruit is not like a hard, like you have to really have some nuts or something, cracking the nut. Not that kind of fruit. It's a trava. Trava means semi-solid. Even if you take a mango, nice mango, the fruit, inside what happens? Inside there is a nut. So it is not really complete ananda. You have to really take it out, and then, then not only that, it has a skin also. See, mango fruit, it has skin. Even banana, you have skin also. Isn't it? So, now the thing is, it is, Bhagavatam is really given to us exactly as it is ready to eat. See, our Indian women who have one special thing, and the Indian children. What they do is, Indian children, they are so reluctant to really even eat anything. Even banana, you give a banana, they will say, no, I don't want. You peel it for me, and then then they put it in my mouth. Then only they will eat. And the mothers, what they do? Yeah, they will peel the thing and then put it in the mouth. Only thing is they don't chew it for the child. All the others they do. So this is the nature of the mother, ready to eat. Okay. So here we have problem in even mango, fully ripened mango. We have problem. You have skin. You have to take the skin. And then even after that, you cannot eat everything. There is again inside, there is a seed again. Right? But here, it is amrita. And it is readily swallowable. It is not in, and another one is Trava samyutam. Trava means it's not solid. Solid means, you have to chew it, right? So it is not really that anand. Right? And also, it is not like a juice. Juice means you really take it and then you drink and then you cannot taste it. You cannot really taste it to the fullest extent. But this is Travya. Travya means semi-solid and you have to drink it. It's like with the pulp. So it is really every piece of it is going to give you anand. That is the beauty of Trava. Trava means semi-solid. So no hard to eat like nuts. No, skins to be peeled. No seeds to be worried about. No worry about peeling any skin at all. And it's ready to be swallowed. We don't even have to chew. Why? Because it is Trava. You don't have to chew. You just drink and it is so anand. Okay? So liquid is not enjoyable. Solid is not, that's hard to eat. Semi-liquid, Trava is the maximum enjoyment. That is what Srimad Bhagavatam is. Everyone, including liberated, can relish Bhagavatam. Everyone, including liberated, can relish Bhagavatam. Bibaddha Bhagavatam Rasam Alayam. Who can enjoy Srimad Bhagavatam? A devotee of Krishna? Yes. A mukta, yes. Liberated, yes. They will. Bibaddha Bhagavatam Rasamalayam. A devotee of Krishna is automatically liberated anyway. As soon as one really takes a proper diksha, you are liberated actually. If your guru is that powerful, you are already liberated. Now, this here, Bibaddha Bhagavatam Rasamalayam. Bibaddha means to do relish it. Bhagavatam, the book dealing with the science of eternal relation with the Lord. Rasam is juice. That which is relishable. It is rasa means and the tasty. It's so tasteful. Alayam. Alayam means not the way you think the meaning is. Layam. Layam means layam. Because means until. Then layam means liberation. Even if the liberated condition, one can enjoy Bhagavatam. This is something really amazing. Why? I thought, we thought probably liberated persons don't have to read Srimad Bhagavatam because they are already liberated. Isn't it? But why should they really read this Bhagavatam? That is the beauty. The thing is, those people who really think that they got moksha, still there is a higher level. That higher level is Goloka, that is actually Krishna Bhakti, Krishna Prema. Mukta is all, just because somebody got liberated, that doesn't mean that they are actually, in Goloka. No. They are probably in somewhere else. Maybe in the Brahma Jyoti, or in Vaikunta, or Saket, but not in the highest level, which is Goloka. So even those who are liberated can enjoy Bhagavatam. Sukadeva Goswami was an example of liberated jiva actually. He got liberated even when he was in the womb of his mother. He did not want to come out of the womb because he did not want to face the Maya. But he was a liberated person. Bhagavatam gives all the best mellows. Muhu aho rasika bhuvi bhavukaha. Muhu means always. Aho means oh. Rasika, those who are full in the knowledge of mellows. Who is that? Krishna Bhakta. Krishna Bhaktas. Bhuvi, on the earth. Bhavuka, expert and thoughtful. They are the ones who are mainly expert and thoughtful. For them, Bhagavatam gives the maximum and the best mellows. And the beauty about Bhagavatam is, it is not a dry philosophy. It is not just like a fanatic kind of story. It is a history in sweet leelas of Krishna and with the philosophy mingled together. It is mixed so nicely. That is what really makes it as the topmost scriptures of all the scriptures that we can ever have. Now, we'll think that again. We'll just go over once again. Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam Sukhamukatam mrita travasam yutam Pibata bhagavatam rasam malayam Muhuraho rasika bhuvi bhavuka. Oh, expert and thoughtful men relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sri Sukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. Thank you and Hare Krishna. Vanja kalpa tarupchecha kripa sindhu piyavacha paritanam pavanepyo vaishnavepyo namo namah.